Welcome back, everybody. We are on part 3 of the 2018 Smark Out Moment Awards. The end of the year is coming our way. It is coming our way really, really fast, especially since this is in the future when I'm uploading this. So it even came a little bit quicker. So we are midway through this. We are on the third part of this, which is the Programming Awards. And if you have not checked out the Technical Awards in part 1, and the Writing Awards in Part 2, go check those out ahead of time because you will get our recap of how this all works, who we are, what's going on, what our favorite things are for those categories, and so on and so forth. And this is the quickest thing that we have going on here because the Programming Awards, there's not as much to go down here. We kind of got rid of a couple things, added a couple things, and this is the layout that I've got going on for this year. I've got the umbrella categories are in-ring shows, which is where they actually have the wrestling action take place. Talk and recap shows, which are interview-based and different things like that. A new category, which is documentary shows, because this now has gotten to a point where we have so many different documentary, let's track somebody throughout their life type things, that way it sort of changes up the game and makes it worthy of another separate category. We've got the oddball shows, which are everything else. Anything that is just, it can't be placed into one of those other categories. A new category of the best and worst new program of the year, because it's worth doing that. Hey, we got these new programs that debuted. How do they rank? What are the best ideas, the worst ideas? And then eventually, the best and the worst pay-per-view or special event of the year. So let's just backtrack here. The best and the worst in-ring shows. Your options were, in alphabetical order, 205 Live, the Mae Young Classic, Main Event, which nobody's going to pick for best, the Mixed Match Challenge, NXT, NXT UK, Raw, and SmackDown. And I really
think that this has been a banner year for Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. The ratings reflect it, right?
Great. Sure.
I went with, for my worst, Main Event, because absolutely nobody watches Main Event, to the point where WWE doesn't even have Main Event listed on their shows. If you go to WWE.com right now, they do not make any reference whatsoever to the fact that Main Event exists. You can't find pictures. It's not listed under the programming. Nothing. I still don't even know what day that show is on the air, because I can't find that information on the internet. Nobody seems to know. It's like, it's either Wednesdays or Thursdays or Fridays or Saturdays or replays on Mondays. What the fuck? Main Event's the worst.
Well, it's not on Tuesday, that's for sure.
My best, I have to go with, as much as I like 205 Live and as much as I like the Mae Young Classic, overall, NXT's the best show.
Yeah.
Yeah, you won't get any argument from me. Mae Young Classic, I thought, was a big step up from the first tournament. The NXT week to week just delivers on pretty much every level, and it's in a bite-sized chunk. I do agree with you in the sense of, like, Main Event, nobody watches it. But I would say, considering the people that are usually on Main Event, because they've had people like matches with The Revival and Chad Gable and Tyler Breeze.
Yeah, it's
and
those guys. It's the Ascension, the B Team, Mojo Rawley, No Way Jose. It's the jobbers of Raw show.
But I'd probably get, and because it's short as well, I'd probably get a bit of a kick watching these guys that I don't normally see every week. Just, if I watched an episode of Main Event, I'd probably leave, not so much like super pumped, but I'd probably leave fairly satisfied. Whereas Raw makes me want to kill myself. So, because that is the dirt worst show. It's terrible. It's not by like any wrestling show standards. Raw is an awful pro wrestling show.
Well, I guess if that's kind of maybe how you weight the thing. Based off of like low expectations, Main Event sucks, but nobody really expects it to be anything. Monday Night Raw is their flagship show and it sucks. So yeah, I can see an argument for Monday Night Raw being the worst because it's actually supposed to be good.
And it's also just because I can't say negative things about Main Event because I don't watch Main Event. Same reason I haven't put like NXT UK on these sort of things. I don't watch them very often or at all. So it's like, I can't really say they're the worst because I don't have proof they're the worst. Whereas I can watch Raw and say, "Wow, this is the worst thing. This is some of the worst stuff I've ever seen." So I have to give Raw the worst.
Yeah, I agree 100% with Callum.
NXT best, Raw worst.
Yep, because like he said, you can't. It's easy to say, well, main event's the worst because nobody watches it, but you can't say something bad about something you have no knowledge of.
Fair enough. I can see the argument for that. And by the way, everybody, drop your comments below and tell us your picks for these kind of things. I forgot to mention that the last time around, but do it. So we got talk and recap shows. Your options for these are Afterburn, which a lot of these are the ones that people go like, is that even a fucking show? And yeah, it is. Ask the WWE Performance Center. Bottom Line. Experience.
These shows are still on the air?
Yep. Afterburn, Bottom Line, and Experience are all, let's do a recap of WWE for other markets, kind of, which is really stupid. It's like Scott Stanford just talks. We have got the Fallout from the YouTube. We got Film Room, which was a temporary type of thing. Photo Shoot, Playback, Pop Question. A lot of these are on the YouTube channel too, so if you don't recognize like Pop Question, that's YouTube. Raw Talk, Something Else to Wrestle, Straight to the Source, which has been canceled. Table for Three, Talking Smack, which basically has been canceled as well. This Week in WWE, WWE Now, WWE Sunday Damal, I think is how you pronounce it. WWE Vintage, and WWE, what the fuck you call this? Walthree Uha?
Well, I think that's for a foreign market that has nothing to do with us.
Why is there a 3 in there? I don't fucking understand this. Somebody explain me to this, because it's just, I'm completely ignorant about it. It's a different culture.
Enough, man. Only 5.
I'm not gonna like make fun of the idea behind it because I just don't understand it. Like Walthree Uha. How do you pronounce it? What is that supposed to mean? Clearly, that is not on my my best because I just lumped that all together. That Vintage, Bottom Line, Experience, Afterburn, all of them. Just they don't need to exist. We don't need these recap shows. They're all the worst. My best, Something Else to Wrestle. It's not as good as Something to Wrestle with, but it's better than the other ones.
The only reason I didn't give it to Something Else to Wrestle is because it really does end up being such a watered down version of the podcast, even though you get the cool things like, oh, here's this behind the scenes footage of the Ted DiBiase vignette, but I much prefer the actual podcast, so
it's so much better. There's no comparison. It's so much better.
It's probably my honorable mention, but I'm going to go with Table for Three. Simply because if the right 3 are on the show, wow, it's really fun. You know,
see what bugs me about it is every Table for Three lately, I've been feeling like they cut it down so much that I feel like I didn't watch anything. Like I want the full time of them. I would want an hour-long Table for Three, and they give you like 17 minutes or something.
Well, I just like the, when you get the right guys and you get the like the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian and hold on.
By the way,
I'll take mine. I'll take mine while he's distracted.
Table for Three, Uha. That needs to be a thing.
Table for Three, Wallahu.
Is that what Wallahu? Is that what it is?
I don't know. I can't tell you.
Okay, I actually looked up Walthree Uha, and it's clearly Middle Eastern. There's no explanation as to why the 3 is there. I don't know. But we don't have access to these shows. We used to have access to Afterburn, Bottom Line, and
was there like a Wal 1 Uha and Wal 2 Uha beforehand? Like, is this
we don't live in the Middle East. I don't know.
I'm really confused.
Maybe it's just the name of one of their channels over there.
That's a good point.
That makes sense. weird, like, I don't know why they would name it that, but I don't know. No, I'm getting sidetracked here anyway. Your best and worst. What's going on here?
Yeah, and Tables for Three, it's just been the best show I've seen because they canceled Talking Smack, they canceled all the others, so I like that one the best. The worst, yeah, I've got to go with, even when it was a thing, Raw Talk, because it always seemed like, hey, you know how Talking Smack is fun? We're going to try to do that on Raw. We're going to miss Harley.
So my best one, I'll probably go for Table for Three as well. Mainly because I'm kind of fascinated with what they eat.
That is kind of the best
part.
part.
A salad in front of him. Maybe this is why we get so many food questions on the like Q&As and stuff. People are just fascinated with what people eat. But I'd also give an honorable mention to Photo Shoot. I thought that's been quite fun.
Yeah, I've been looking at that one.
Just looking back on like people's careers with a few like standout photographs. It's a nice concept. It's not going to pull up any trees or anything like that, but it's fine. Worst, I don't know. Like, let's put it this way: I don't watch hardly any of these stuff, and you can't because it's just too much. But I probably would just go for Raw Talk because it probably has Jonathan Coachman on it. So, so if it does have Jonathan Coachman on it, I'm probably not going to enjoy. I'd also probably put as like an honorable mention for the worst one, Something Else to Wrestle. Because I just don't believe anything that Bruce Pritchard says. I just don't trust him. He
Not at all?
No, I just think he was there, and like, all said knowledge he was there. And I've listened to a few of the podcasts stuff like that, and I just listen and go, well, it's mainly due to the criticism of like Dave Meltzer and other people that have done research into it, saying that all they say is bullshit. Because that's what these guys do. They just say that, oh, all this stuff that the dirt sheets were saying was absolute bullshit. When it's probably not, but you just don't want to say that it was bullshit because it makes you look bad.
So that's where I like where Conrad comes in, because then he's like, yeah, but you just admitted that was true. And then he's like, well, fuck you, Conrad.
Conrad's fine in that regard. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but all of these podcasts with like your Bruce Pritchards and your Tony Schiavone's and Eric Bischoff's, they're fine, but I think that 90% of the stuff they're saying is bullshit.
Especially when they chat him up.
Yeah.
I will say this, even though I listen to Pritchard's more because I'm more of a WWE guy overall, I believe Bischoff a significant amount more than I do Bruce.
I would say this. I would say that Bischoff believes himself more than Bruce Pritchard does.
And that's probably why I believe him more.
Yeah. But I just think he's still lying, but I think he genuinely believes that he's telling the truth.
Let's go to documentary shows. Your options for these were WWE Chronicle, The Day Of, formerly known as Ms. and Mrs., Total Bellas, Total Divas, WWE 24, and WWE 365, which Chronicle and 24 and 365 are all pretty much the same damn show. Ms. and Mrs., Total Bellas, Total Divas, pretty much the same damn show. So it's kind of like that versus whatever. The Day Of is pretty much Chronicle as well. It's kind of, do you like the Chronicle type thing? Do you like formerly known as, or do you like reality TV that isn't reality? So it's hard to pick between those. My worst, I just lumped in the reality ones. Ms. and Mrs., Total Bellas, Total Divas, they're all fucking same. They're all terrible. My best, I'd have to give a slight advantage, I think, to formerly known as. I like that dynamic a little bit better than... This last episode of Chronicle really fucked it over for me, because I had Chronicle down as being something that was a lot of fun. Yet, I did not like the Speculants one. And The Day Of is fine enough, but to me, that should just be like WWE 24 a little bit. Because to me, WWE 24, I hate it how they call it WWE 24, but it's not 24 hours. It should only be, we're tracking a 1 day span, because it should be WWE 24 is the 24 hours. That should be The Day Of. And then WWE 365 is the whole throughout the year thing. So I have to disqualify 24 just for the fucking name. And if it's between 365 and formerly known as, there's something kind of fun to the idea of Seth Rollins saying like, hey, I used to be Gix, and I used to call myself God, and Ruby Riott going through the names that she had done and, you know, where she came around, and Luke Harper and like some different people. I really liked Formerly Known As. That's got my best documentary show. How you guys feeling?
I think Formerly Known As is definitely high up there for me, just because it's the most unique out of all of these, and it takes a nice interpretation of just looking back into the history of different superstars and their old gimmicks and how they made their way into WWE. So I find that really interesting. But my best one is Chronicle. I'm in complete disagreement with you. I absolutely adored the Becky Lynch one. I love the fact that in that version, as opposed to 24 and 365, it felt like a blend of kayfabe and like behind the scenes stuff. So you like see the reality behind it, but you also see it's built around the storyline that they're currently in. So whereas the other ones feel a bit more just like general behind the scenes thing, which are interesting, but I think Chronicle takes it in a slightly different way. So I like the way they do it. And the Samoa Joe one I thought was the best one this year, and I thought that was a brilliant piece put together.
So for me, go ahead.
I was just going to move on to my worst one as well, in the sense that the worst ones for like, I agree with you that it should be the reality shows, but I separate Miz and Mrs. because I think both the Miz and Maurice come across quite likable in that show, and other people that make cameos like Dolph Ziggler and stuff like that. It's reasonably fun and lighthearted, whereas Total Bellas and Total Divas are just absolute shit shows.
To be honest, I never saw Ms. and Mrs. They lost me on that cake thing, where it was like, oh my god, the cake fell. Wow, we didn't see this coming. I was like,
well, it is totally fake and stuff like that, but in the bits that you do see just Miz and Maurice talking to each other and stuff like that, they come across as just like a couple that get along really well. Whereas like Tobias and Toadie, it's just the same shit of, oh my god, we're having some argument over something that we shouldn't be having an argument about. We'll resolve the argument by the end of the show, and then next week we'll be back to pretty much the same argument over something.
Jesus, they might as well make sitcoms when you put it like that.
But the sitcoms will be canceled.
Yeah.
For me, best show by far is Chronicle, because I like the way they blur the lines, where it's like you're kind of seeing, you know, the outside stuff, but they're also giving you insight to the character. Specifically, the Samoa Joe and Dean Ambrose ones. They really did good on explaining why Dean Ambrose was feeling a little off, more than Dean Ambrose has done on television whatsoever. So I really like that show. And as far as the worst, obviously it's going to be one of the reality shows, but I gotta tell you, Ms. and Mrs. is fine. The Total Bellas is just the fucking worst. Like, nothing comes across as authentic in any way about the Bellas. And I want to like them, you know? I really do. But they come across as so fucking phony, to the point where for the majority of the latter half of the year, I had to cover, well, Nikki Bella and John Cena are kind of, maybe, sort of, possibly back together. And, like, it's just exhausting, because we're supposed to believe that this fake, contrived thing is their actual lives, and it's just bullshit. Total Bellas is the worst.
Yeah, it's total bullshit. I just think it's got to the point where their phoniness is now their reality. They don't even know what their reality is anymore, because they're just so surrounded with so much bullshit.
No, like, that's what it is. We become the Truman Show.
Like Hulk Hogan, he hasn't been Terry in decades.
Yeah, and Ric Flair's never met Richard Flair. Doesn't even know who Richard Flair is anymore.
Well, to be fair, at least Ric Flair says Richard Flair doesn't exist and he will only exist when I'm dead. So, you know, like, at least he owns it. With everybody else, it's like we become living your brand so much that they think all this phoniness is their real life.
What if it was like that for Undertaker? And he's like, they're eating dinner, he and Michelle McCool and the kids, and it's like, hey kids, come on, like you gotta eat your green beans, and they're just like, oh, but I don't want to, and then he's just kind of like, I will rain down the hellfires, and they're like, oh, come on, Dad, what the fuck? Like every time that there's a thunderstorm, they're just kind of like waiting for him to be like, see, did that.
I think he's gotten so much into character that when he wakes up in the morning, he just sits up. And
Yeah. I love that. It's kind of a story. If that was a scripted reality show type thing where that was happening, I would actually watch that shit. Let's go with the oddball shows here. These are just pretty much everything else. We got Camp WWE, Canvas to Canvas, the Edge and Christian show that totally reeks of awesomeness, the Fashion Files, which is no longer a thing, Figure It Out, which I didn't even know existed until randomly, and then it was just kind of like, oh shit, it's Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins go to like toy stores and buy stuff, and I actually fucking like it a lot. Game Night, House Hardy Halloween special, the Baron Corbin, whatever that had called, I have it down as like Baron Corbin horror special. List This, Mic'd Up, which is the thing where they just let you hear what they did on Mixed Match Challenge. Music Power 10, Ride Along, Story Time, Talking Snack, fucking stealing that from us. Top 10, Unboxed, Up Up Down Down in its entirety, all the things that kind of go along with Up Up Down Down, and WWE Superstar Impersonation Battle. A lot of these, I'm sure, people shows that people are just like, what the fuck is Superstar Impersonation Battle and stuff. Check out the YouTube pages and go hunt things down on the WWE Network. My worst, I went with Music Power 10. It is a top 10 list of music videos that aren't music videos that aren't a top 10. It's literally just, here are the entrances from WrestleMania and stuff. It's really stupid, completely pointless. Extra shout out though to Camp WWE for a show that should be good. It's garbage, especially the intro. Camp. It's like fucking forever. I hate that show. I hate the voices. I hate everything on that. It's just not funny. It should be, but it isn't.
I get a kick out of it, so I gotta disagree with you. I'll go with worst first because
yeah. Let's go through all three for the worst. Then we'll cycle back and go with best.
I'll go with worst. Just I never saw the appeal of the stupid stuff like Ride Along and Story Time.
Ride Along is tied for my best.
Ride Along and Story Time are tied for the worst because only on the rare occasion, like when Biggie is in the back of the car making pancakes on a griddle, is it like, wow, this is funny. But a lot of times it's just dumb. Like I remember the one where it was Cole, JBL, and Saxton. It was just like, hey, let's just leave Saxton behind. Ha, Saxton sucks. You know, like, I don't believe any of that. That's about as, inauthentic as Total Bellas. So that's why it's up there for me. And Storytime, I just can't get behind. Maybe it's because a lot of the stories I've heard before.
Callum, where your worst?
My worst? I mean, I hate Talking Snack on principle.
Well, because they stole it from us, those bastards.
Yeah. Like now we can never register them. Not even because they've taken it. But I'd probably go with. I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan of Camp WWE, and as opposed to Music Power 10, where you kind of just, if you're watching it, you kind of just set like setting your own coffin up, really. Just sense of like, what you watch is probably not going to be that good, but you watch it anyway, and it wasn't that good. Whereas Camp WWE, by its nature, should be funny and entertaining, and it should be like, oh, we're going rated R and we're pushing the boundaries a little bit on a TV show, and it absolutely fucking sucks. It's like you said, Tony, it's not funny at all. The jokes don't hit. The voices are terrible. They couldn't even get the only voices they could get were Vince McMahon and Ric Flair onto it and stuff like that. They couldn't actually get the real wrestlers to do it.
Vince is fine, Slaughter's fine, but like that, the Stone Cold in particular is my least favorite part.
Yeah, because he's supposed to be he's this like edgy character and stuff like that. It's just like he's such an annoyance. Like you totally just don't get what makes Stone Cold good or interesting. Like the only good kid character in that is the John Cena like kid, just because he comes across as such like the goody two shoes that everyone just assumed John Cena was. But yeah, everything else about that show is just really unfunny, in my opinion.
My best, I actually, between my tie, I had been Ride Along and the one that I'm actually going to probably go with, which is, and oddly enough, out of all the things to pick, it's fucking Figure It Out. This is like, they only have 4 episodes, and it's literally just Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder go into a toy store, like a memorabilia shop, and they go like, oh man, look at this. This is like some old Hacksaw Jim Duggan figure. I'm going to fucking buy that. And somehow it's more entertaining than the shit that's on like Game Night or the Edge and Christian show. Like it's they put more effort into all those things. With this one, they just give them like a GoPro. They're just kind of like, yo, see if you can find some interesting Ghostbusters figure or something. And it's like, I have more entertainment value out of watching Figure It Out than all the other stuff, which is really stupid and shouldn't be the case.
Well, all you need is Zack Ryder and a GoPro, and it's money.
Yeah.
And a video camera.
Yeah, Ryder's proven that before. Have you heard the podcast version, the Major Wrestling Figures podcast?
No, I actually probably don't have all that much interest in the like specifics. Like if they were saying, you know, like let's do a podcast for him and be like, there's this great 1982 limited edition, whatever. It's like, I don't really care. I don't collect anything. But there's something about just watching them all like get so excited about like, dude, look, it's flying Brian Pillman. I'm gonna buy that shit. It's like, I don't know. Maybe it appeals to the part of me that watched a couple episodes of Pawn Stars when that was a thing. Before I kind of like realized how shitty that was. That's my best, which is like, it sucks I couldn't give that to like House Hardy Halloween or something, you know?
My best is by far Up, Up, Down, Down. I think it's great. Everybody looks like they're genuinely having a good time. None of it feels forced. And they do cool things like advertise Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, and they do crossover promotion, stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll echo that then. Up, Up, Down, Down. Just the stuff that Xavier Woods or Austin Creed on the show is doing is great. I'm a big fan of watching video games in any regard on YouTube anyway, so it ticks that box for me.
Same.
You get to see like the crossover stars coming over, like the Elite appearing on shows. You get to see people just like being real, but also still kind, sometimes in character. Got to see like really insightful, not say insightful, but just fun interviews with people like Shinsuke Nakamura and Asuka, and people that you just don't typically see, like giving interviews on the main show or talking to people. And yeah, I mean, I saw like they had like a League of Legends tournament between people from WWE and people from NXT.
See, that's where they lose me because I'm not a gamer. And when they have people that are on the gaming side, I don't care to watch the episode because it's just like, here's Markiplier or whatever. And then it's like, all right, well, pass. Or when they play games that I'm not into, like the League of Legends thing. If I was into League of Legends, I probably would love that. It's not my thing, so that was an entirely skip all of that type thing. So I've actually found myself not watching almost anything of Up, Up, Down, Down in this past year.
I'd also give like an honorable mention to the Fashion Files, just because for the time they were there, even at the start of the year, and they weren't so special as they were in 2017. It's just nice to see those two doing stuff because they're very funny guys and they deserve more airtime.
Let's go over to the best and the worst new program of the year. These are the ones that just started up out of nowhere. Chronicle, The Day Of, Figure It Out, Film Room, formerly known as Mixed Match Challenge, Mic'd Up, Ms. and Mrs., NXT UK, Photo Shoot, Something Else to Wrestle, and Talking Snack. And you could count the House Hardy Halloween special, and you could count the Baron Corbin thing too. And I might be missing something else along the lines. I don't think I am, but I'm going to say the worst is Ms. and Mrs. just because it's a reality show and fuck those. And the best is formerly known as, for the reasons why I already broke them down.
For me, the best is Talking Snack. I think that is genuinely enjoyable and a lot of fun. And the worst is the mixed match challenge. Fuck that. It's completely inconsequential and annoying. So yeah.
I actually had mixed match challenges my own mention for one of the best. I think it's just
Until
like
season 2.
no, both seasons.
Oh, okay.
I think it's great that it's just a bit of fun, and the wrestlers let their hair down and just try to put on fun matches. And then they're not consequential, and it doesn't mean anything, and it shouldn't have really meant too much beyond just the charity side of things. But I thought it was just fun. You get to see like it was just goofy storytelling, which is better than no storytelling, which you get in a lot of matches nowadays. But my best one is Chronicle for new shows, and my least favorite would be. I either don't watch them or don't really have too much of an opinion on them, so I'd probably just go with something else to wrestle, just because I'm not a fan of Bruce Pritchard.
So then we have the final one of the programming. This is the special event or pay-per-view of the year. So you can check out all the options on the pay-per-view schedule on smarkoutmoment.com right now. But on top of those, what I can constitute as possible options you could pick from are the Raw 25 special, the SmackDown 1000 special, the Tribute to the Troops, Starrcade, the United Kingdom Championship Tournament. I wouldn't classify the Mae Young Classic because to me the Mae Young Classic was a TV show. So if you want to make the argument for it, you can. To me, it isn't. That's how I see it. So you got, the Greatest Royal Rumble and Crown Jewel and Money in the Bank and takeover events and, different things like that. My best, I have a 3-way tie, but I'm leaning towards one in particular. It's the three are NXT TakeOver New Orleans, NXT TakeOver Chicago, and NXT TakeOver War Games. And I'm leaning towards War Games because I remember having that down as there wasn't a single match on that card that I didn't like. At least when it came to Brooklyn, Chicago, New Orleans, there was maybe one that fell a little bit short. War Games, I don't remember disliking anything about that. So I'm leaning more towards War Games being my favorite of the year. My worst, I had Raw 25 down, and I was like, can't get much worse than that. And then Backlash happened, and I thought, well, can't get much worse than that. And then Crown Jewel happened. Crown Jewel, as much as I didn't like the Greatest Royal Rumble, Crown Jewel had bland matches and all the negativity surrounding going into it, and they somehow managed to make it worse coming out of it. If you want to check out my review point, pay-per-view point of that, the post-show, it's the only pay-per-view post-show that I've had in years that has a title that's anything other than just pretty much like TLC pay-per-view show or whatever like that. It's just labeled Crown Jewel sucked and whatever. And you will hear a rant from me that is one of the biggest rants that I've ever had, where I talk about how disgusting it is that they were in a time frame where it took leukemia to try to get somebody over because of how they fucked up this whole year, and how they took that and said, let's fuck up even more. Crown Jewel is the worst thing to have happened with pay-per-view wise for this entire year, because as bad as Backlash was, and as bad as Raw 25 was, and as stupid as the Greatest Royal Rumble ended up being, as bad as, like, going into the Greatest Royal Rumble, they had so many problems, and it was like, well, that ended up being kind of stupid. Maybe they'll fix it around with Crown Jewel, because at least Crown Jewel's got a decent name for it. And they've got a tournament, which is going to feature a bunch of people, and we're going to crown a new champion, and Braun Strowman's going to win the title and all this. And it was like, it was a giant middle finger and a kick to the balls. Fuck Crown Jewel. But yay for War Games and all the other takeover events. How you guys feeling about this?
I'll make it real quick. Best show of the year, NXT TakeOver War Games, by far. Worst show of the year, not even close, Crown Jewel.
Same reasons?
Yeah. I said earlier, nothing left me with such a feeling of just frustration and negativity like Crown Jewel did. It was just not good.
I I knew that my winner for like best pay per view was going to be an NXT Takeover.
Yeah.
Law of averages. So I re-watched a lot of them, and I'm actually surprised with your guys' War Games selection because on rewatching them, I thought that was the weakest out of the shows for the entire year for NXT Takeovers.
You going with Brooklyn? Are you going with Brooklyn?
No. The obvious choice for me is NXT Takeover New Orleans. It had the two greatest matches of the year, apparently, at least in my book, on the show.
According to all three of us, basically.
Yeah. So if it's a show which has 5 matches and 2 of them are arguably the 2 greatest matches of the year, I don't know how you can really put any show above that, really. But if I had to put like an honorable mention, which is more of a WWE based one, Evolution was a much bigger success than anybody probably thought going into it, based on the amount of promotion they did going into it. It kicked all sorts of ass. All the ladies did an amazing job, and I think they deserve to at least get an honorable mention for this one.
They had 4 extra pay-per-views this year that were slotted in that weren't as big of a deal, and that was the only one that was a success.
Yeah.
Greatest Royal Rumble, Crown Jewel, and Super Showdown all sucked. That one was good.
And obviously Crown Jewel is the worst one. I think the Crown Jewel one is accentuated by the surrounding instances, and obviously the fact of like it being main evented by 4 50-year-olds who weren't exactly in the best ring shape whatsoever, and Brock Lesnar winning the title and Shane McMahon being crowned best in the world. So as a storyline perspective, it's bad, but I think it needs to also be mentioned that Backlash was, besides the Seth Rollins thing, just as a pure wrestling standpoint, just match to match, that was such a terrible event.
Especially for trying to be like, we're going to kick something else off and it's going to be a change and it's the best of both worlds. And it was like, that's the best you have to offer was fucking Backlash.
And I think it's also important to mention on this point now that we're just like talking about pay-per-views and special events. WrestleMania was great for one half of the show. And then the other half of the show was pretty woeful.
I wouldn't be shocked if next WrestleMania is really bad.
Yeah, it's a WrestleMania. It was a WrestleMania of 2 halves, but every NXT takeover this year was at a high standard, and you could realistically say that they were the top 5 shows of this year. However you want to rank them, it's like up to you. But for me, New Orleans was just head and shoulders above any show, arguably any show that I've ever seen, let alone just of this year.
I think I'm actually going to rewatch that as soon as we get off this.
If you're going to rewatch anything of this year, it's got to be the takeover events. Don't watch like Extreme Rules or Backlash or Greatest Royal Rumble.
Go back and watch Evolution as well, because I think it would be better on a second watching, because going into it with like the low expectations, knowing how it turned out to be good, you can just go back and just like enjoy them having their own events themselves.
Alrighty, everybody, those are the programming awards. Again, mention your picks in the comments below and do all the typical stuff that you guys do. And stay tuned, because in the next part 4, we were going to be breaking down the on-air personality awards, which is things like the broadcasters, the managers, all the people that aren't on the actual wrestling side of things. So stay tuned. Part 4 is coming your way next.